coach, and welcome to the Futsal Talks. Today I would like to introduce the offensive dualities. Firstly, let me explain what is an offensive duality. That is the connection between two players. It's easy to understand. We have two different groups of dualities, depend on the tactical intention. If we use the tactical intention to work in width or as a super way, we have one group, and the second group is that if we are working in depth, using the depth space or in a vertical way. Firstly, let me give you or explain you all the dualities working in width or as a super way. The first is the block. The block is like in the basketball. We pass the ball to our teammate and we are trying to move and to block the defender, creating the enough space, the safety space to reduce the ball pressure. That is the main goal of the block. We could chain the block, if we block here, we could chain the block with a vertical duality. Imagine that we are blocking here and suddenly we want to attack the offensive space using a vertical wall or a parallel movement. We could chain different kind of duality. That is very important to understand. The second duality that we want to introduce in the group of the super or working with is the screen. The screen is more or less the same like the block. We pass the ball, but instead of try to block the defender, we are crossing between the teammate with ball and the defender. We are trying to create different kind of doubts in this pair of defensive and reducing the ball pressure. It's important to understand that the block and the screen produce one specific defensive movement, that is the defensive jump. When we are passing the ball here and we are moving to attack the other pair, maybe defensive pair, maybe this player decide to jump to the ball, the trajectory to the player with ball. And these kind of actions are very dangerous because we are trying to play the safety place with movement and the defensive suddenly jump to the ball. It's important to understand that, to detect that and try to avoid this defensive jump in a vertical way. The same if we are, instead of using the block, we are using screens. We could produce maybe this kind of jumps. Detect and attack in a vertical way. Another duality working in width or in as a super. The back-sole pass. The back-sole pass, it's an easy technical, tactical principle. We could pass the ball here and after doing some movement, maybe a block, maybe a screen, the player is driving the ball to the center and suddenly receive high pressure and pass the ball with the sole back to the player. It's important to create this pass line between the two players and to talk to the player with ball saying, hey, pass the ball, or I'm here, or whatever. Another is the horizontal wall pass or between line pass. This kind of dualities, it's easy to support the ball. If I'm moving here, creating a feint and appearing close to my teammate that the ball is pressure, I pass the ball, I drive and I pass the ball another time to my teammate, trying to create this connection between these two players. More similar is the between line movement. I pass the ball and try to appear between different kind of defensive lines, creating this pass line and working with my teammate this pass. And after that I could pass the ball again to my teammate or just attacking, creating some superiority action. Okay, we talk about 5 different kind of dualities working in width or as a super way: the block, the screen, the back-sole pass, the horizontal wall pass, and between lines. Now it's time to talk about another group of dualities working in depth or in a vertical way. The first is the parallel movement. It's easy to understand. I'm passing the ball to the side and I'm attacking the parallel movement in this way, attacking the ball and trying to create a superiority or a finish action. Another similar movement is the vertical wall pass. I pass the ball here and I try to appear close to my teammate to attack this space behind the defensive first line. This movement is perfect to avoid on the side high ball pressure. Another movement or another duality is the diagonal pass. Imagine that I'm passing the ball here and I want to attack this space, losing the mark in the first line, creating or attacking this space and creating a pass line here and attack the action, maybe with the finish action. Another duality is the fold action. We have two different folds to work. The first is the fold using the pivot. Imagine that I'm connecting with the pivot and I'm trying to create this fold action, attacking this space or attacking this space, trying to find a finish action with the connection or creating the space for the pivot to turn and to finish the action. Another fold action is produced in the creation zone and not using the pivot. Imagine that we are here in the finish zone and we pass the ball to the side and we create this fold action. First, the player with the ball drives to the center, creating this space to attack with a fold action, creating a defensive dots here. I change the mark, I follow my mark, or whatever. Depends on the defensive behavior or reaction. We could attack different kind of spaces, here or here. Okay, another and the last duality working in depth or in a vertical way is the backdoor pass. The backdoor is produced, for example, using the pivot. It's a movement that firstly I move to one side and suddenly I am attacking another space, trying to create this pass line and win the action. Another different kind of backdoor is when I'm working the same space but changing the depth. Imagine that I'm here with that player and suddenly I try to move here and I create this space with a backdoor movement. It's easy to understand. The first backdoor is just working the same depth but changing the direction. I'm moving here and suddenly appear here, creating a pass line. And another example is I'm working in different depth. I'm trying to create this space to attack it, changing the direction, my direction, and creating this pass line. Okay, we talk about 5 different dualities working in depth or in a vertical way. Parallel, vertical wall pass, diagonal, fold, and backdoor. Now it's time to talk about the different kind of positioning and how this kind of positioning affects directly to the dualities. We have 3 different of positionings. Initial positioning, the 4-1 structure, we have this structure, and the space to attack, defensive space behind the defensive line is completely different if we change to the 3-1 action, 3-1 positioning, or also if we are using the 2-2 positioning, initial positioning. In this case, in this example, all the dualities that we could use are different. For example, we could use a vertical dualities, attacking the space. We could use blocks. I'm creating a 1x1 and I'm appearing here to create a block. Okay, but there's no option to create parallel, for example. There's no option to create parallel movements. I could create folds. I could pass the ball here and trying to attack with a fold action this space. If we change to the 3-1 action, we have different kind of dualities that we could apply. And if we move to a 4-0 positioning, we have different kind of dualities, depend always with the space we want to use. Another aspect that is very important to understand, including the positioning, are the zones. We talk about that in the game concepts course part 1, the zone space and the space. It's very important to understand. It's completely different to create a parallel movement. For example, if we are here in the creation zone, there's a lot of space. If we create a vertical wall pass, the actions that happen after the duality is a superiority with a lot of space that defense could correct and create a 2 versus 2 action. But if these actions happen in the finish zone, there is less space for the defenders, and we could create, imagine the same vertical action, we could create a finish action, not just a superiority action, also adding the finish action. It's very important to understand that we have 2 different zones, the creation zone and the finish zone, and depending the zone, we could develop different kind of dualities with different kind of intentions. Very important to understand. Finally, let me explain something very important about the dualities. We could work with our teams 3 different tactical options that happens in the game. The first one is how to reduce the ball pressure using dualities. Which kind of dualities we could use to reduce the ball pressure. The second group is how we could create line passes with some dualities. And the last group, the third group, is how we could create different finish actions using dualities. These 3 groups we must develop in our, or to apply in our teams. It's very important that, coach. The first, to reduce the ball pressure. We talked about that. If there is a high ball pressure, we could work a block, we could work a screen, we could work also, if the high pressure is here, a backside pass, we could work also the between lines if there is high ball pressure. Okay, it's very important to understand that it's the ball pressure conditions all that happens in the game. How or which kind of dualities we could use to create pass lines. The first is the backside pass. If we are using this kind of movements and we are creating this pass line, we are creating a backside pass, creating this pass line between the 2 players. Another different pass line is when we are working the horizontal wall pass or the vertical wall pass. In the horizontal wall pass, I pass the ball here and try to create some feint and appear here. And if I receive the ball and move again with the same player, it's horizontal. But instead of do this movement, if I pass the ball in a vertical way, we change to the vertical a vertical wall pass. Another different kind of vertical wall pass, creating a pass line where the people move to one side and I pass the ball here and I attack this space. I'm creating a pass line between these 2 players using a duality. Another is the diagonal pass. If I'm passing the ball here, for example, if I'm passing the ball here and I'm moving here, at the moment I'm creating this pass line between these 2 players, I'm working a duality in a vertical way. Well, I hope that you could learn a lot of concepts. See you in the next